Hey!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to...
Excuse me.
Oh, Attack on Titan! Well, dang it, I messed it up.
Beyond the Basement.
The complete Attack on Titan podcast!
Interesting first. Fighting out of the left corner. She's got hair.
What?
And
Where's
glasses.
My name's Rachel.
Fights. Interesting second. Fighting out of the middle corner.
He's going to be more entertaining than I was.
He has a hat. He plays music.
They call me Eric.
Why are you sounding like Batman?
Weighing in at some number of kilograms that I don't know what it is because I cannot convert metric to standard. The man with the muscles, the man with the jacket that's a slightly different color than my own. They call him the one, the only, the fantastic, the amazing...
Peter.
Wow, dude, the anticlimax in all three of ours.
Just go straight. We build it up too much, man.
All right. Well, welcome.
The reigning, defending champs of
Can I
Beyond the
just
Basement.
point out that you guys both had all these awesome things you do, and I just have hair and glasses? Like, what the heck?
I mean,
I wrangle tiny humans. I keep people sane. Like, I have so many other things you could have. Anyway, it's fine.
You're right.
It's really a testament to Pete's freestyle rapping skills. Have just kind of gone down the hill since he was, a teenager. All right, guys. So we don't waste your time on this show ever, and I appreciate that you know that.
Thanks
and
for coming along.
Thanks
for
for
the journey.
coming to episode 36, a la season 2, episode 11. Charge him. So quick recap on this episode. This is the episode where Reiner and Bertholdt have made out.
Off.
That's
Is what
getting
he meant
weird
to
already.
say.
That's a different
made
one.
off with. They have captured Eren and Ymir, although we now kind of
And
realize Ymir is
Historia.
sort of in league with them. And Historia. They've got them all, and they run off. They run off out of the woods into the sunset, literally. And the scouts in this episode are like, nope. Well, Erwin is more like, nope, not going to happen. So they chase after him, and we get some long, kind of cool anime pause time in space moments with some dialogue so you understand what the characters are thinking and feeling. And we get this weird conversation between Historia / Krista and Ymir. And Ymir says some weird crap about, like, listen, I did it for my own sake. I got to turn you in.
Well, she pops out of her Titan's head.
Yeah, well, she
too,
pops out. It's a weird way to do it.
No one knew you could do that.
Like daisies.
Until now.
And then the scouts finally catch up and are like, listen, F off. And Mikasa does some cool stuff and tries to get Eren back. And then Erwin loses an arm. And despite having lost an arm, actually does get Eren back.
Mm-hmm.
Does what no one else can do. And then, Connie. We're going to talk about Connie in this episode. I'm going to talk about Connie. Connie says some things. And then, finally, Krista / Historia is swept up by Connie in the chaos. Reiner starts throwing Titans at the now escaping scouts who have Eren and Mikasa successfully. And the episode ends with the Clown Titan, as we call her, it, they, Zed.
Whatever it is.
And to be continued. Right, that's pretty much that's just this episode. Hopefully that refreshes your memory if you haven't just watched it. So yeah, this episode is impossible. I actually almost was like, guys, no, we have to watch the next one. Because the next episode and this episode are so, like, they're just one
so intertwined.
Continuous thought.
Yeah, this episode leaves you so wanting. You're like, no!
I'm glad when I watched this that we... Actually, wait, did we watch this one week to week? The first time through?
No, not this one, I don't think.
Okay. I seem to remember watching these two back
I
to back.
remember. I don't remember now.
Season 3, we definitely watched all of it week to week. So,
yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's a recap of this episode. On a unrelated but also important note, we now have a confirmed date. It sounds like December 7th is going to be the first episode of season 4. So we're trying to figure that out. That gives us like 10 weeks to get through like 25 episodes, which is a lot for us. At one a week, obviously that's not enough. So even at 2 a week, that's not enough. So we're planning and strategizing and trying to figure out a way to make it work. I mean, the plan is, come hell or high water, we do a live episode.
Whether we skip it or whatever.
Well, I figure
Skip
at the
ahead.
very least we do episodes live the night that it drops for Facebook and record it if we don't release the full recorded podcast version until a little bit later. Anyway, we're throwing ideas around. We'll get to it. We'll let you guys know what we plan on doing. So, also shout out to Paris Hardy. our number one fan. You're literally like the fourth member of the show. Mad props. Thank you for emailing us. We're going to talk about some of that. Anyway, so let's start off with Erwin. He says, "Follow my lead. Follow my lead, scouts. We're going in." And he actually tells them directly. He's like, "Hey, lead that horde of Titans. Like, take them this way."
Erwin gets a look in his eye, and it's the I'm abandoning all reason, not completely, but he's gambling. He's got his gambling look in his eye. Like, I'm going for it. He's all in.
Yeah. So
he sees his chance.
Armin actually says the line, the Erwin Smith line, in this episode. If you can't abandon everything, you can't change anything. You have to be able to, whoever can risk the most wins, which is, remember, actually last time we were in a scenario very similar to this with Annie, and we were out in the wilderness, out in the woods, another forest of giant trees actually, and she basically wins. She actually bests the scouts in that scenario. And that's where Erwin is like, hey, like, I realize why they're able to beat this, why she's better at this, because she's willing to give up everything. She's willing to risk more than any of the rest of us were willing to risk. And so for Erwin to do the crazy thing, which is the crazy thing is the safe thing would be like, let's get away with our lives and we'll figure it out later. But he's like, no, he realizes this is his moment where he realizes, like, I know now that the only right way to do this, the only way to get success here, is to be willing to risk more than they're willing to risk, to abandon more than they're willing to abandon. And if that means going even deeper into this fight, and if that means bringing even more Titans into this fight, and if that means, risking every single life here, then that's what we do for the sake of humanity.
And he does. He says, "Let the Titans chase you. Let's chase after them." Like,
we have to capture Eren at all costs.
Yeah. And the scout, not one of the scouts, one of the MPs is like, "Are you using us as bait, you demon?"
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, "It's not my intention, I swear. I started playing it straight. No, we have a soldier's duty to do. We have to do our duty right now. You guys have fought admirably, but we got to chase after and capture Eren at all costs."
Yep.
And you can tell he's got a plan. He's got that look in his eye, Joe. He's twinkling.
Then we get a nice little cut. And this isn't like a big scene, but it actually cuts to Mikasa for a second. She's like, "This time, I won't hesitate."
Yes, which Erwin doesn't hesitate. He just immediately
actually, it's true.
gives the order.
Everybody in this episode pretty much goes right for what they...
Sean Connery from The Rock taught me a important lesson. Never hesitate. Throws that knife in the guy's throat.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, classic.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah. Sean Connery. Losers always whine about doing their best.
So then...
Oh, yeah, this is where...
Then we get to the weird conversation. So Krista is covered in slobber.
Okay, Can we not... I actually gagged and almost threw up a little bit.
The sound effects are so good there, though. Like, they make it very believable.
Ymir pulls Historia out of her Titan mouth. It's horrifying.
And Ymir's like coughing up. Sorry, Historia
coughs up.
Ymir's. Yeah. Anyway.
It's gross.
So she pops out and she's like, "Oh, comes to, what's going on, Ymir? What's going on? I'm here to rescue you."
I thought about it.
And Ymir pops out of the back of like her own nape.
And also coughs up some kind of fluid as well. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah.
Now that we're having a fluid coughing party, Ymir is like still
wrapped
up by like the flesh and stuff on her.
It's like attached to her face.
She's still operating the Titan,
her Titan, which is amazing. And it's like, okay, how long have you been a Titan shifter, and how long have you been practicing? Because Eren can barely even control.
Remember what he's doing before he's a Titan.
So she must obviously have some skill with this. She's always been a Titan shifter for 3+ years. We don't know how much longer.
5-ish years, I think, is actually what she said.
Yeah.
In the 2 episodes ago,
and
something about.
Did she have to learn a bunch before she came?
We don't know.
The timeline is really unclear with Ymir. When did she get inside the walls?
Yeah,
like how long was she? Because she eats one of Reiner and Bertholdt's comrades, and then exactly how long did it take from then to the point in which she gets inside the walls? Which is not even clear how she got inside the walls.
Yeah, they don't really fill in those gaps.
And we know she can climb like crazy, so that's probably
it's at least 3-ish years between when she overhears the conversation and joins the military, because they're discussing Historia joining the military, and she did that 3 years before this whole thing is happening. So we know at least she's been in the walls for 3 years.
Yeah.
But there's that 2-year gap we don't know about.
She pops out, and I know she pops out because it's like, there's no reason like Ugly is going to grunt her way through what she has to say. She has to say something, and she has to kind of lay out her whole case.
Nuanced, yeah.
She can't be like, you, come me, fight, bad guy. You know, like she pops out, you know, and she spits out her, you know, whatever it is, flesh, and she's like, I don't need rescuing. I'm following Reiner and Bertholdt right now because there's no future within the walls. And she tries to convince Krista, she's like, outside the walls isn't so bad. And the story is like, yeah, outside the freaking Titans trying to murder me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the story's like, no, there's no one out here that will tell you that you didn't deserve to die.
To be born.
To be born,
yeah.
Which is, okay, if I remember this right, that's the line that Ymir is remembering that was said about Historia. Mm-hmm. It would have been better if she'd never been born. I don't think Historia has ever heard that herself, or has she?
She probably did.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
But that's what the leader in the church said about her that seems to have triggered Ymir's interest in her from the beginning.
Right. Spoiler alert. I'm not spoiling too much by saying this, but we will find out a lot more about Historia, and it is
her past.
Sad.
Yeah.
Very tragic.
So she says, look, I don't know what's happening here, but I always want to believe the best about you, Ymir. Mm-hmm. I'll always be your ally. And that, you can tell, kind of gets to Ymir. It's just like, I just kidnapped you and
a little bit.
Stuffed you in my mouth and ripped you away, and you want to believe the best.
Yeah. Well, and she
is that when Bertholdt gets emotional because he notices that affects her.
Yeah.
And Ymir, I think he's thinking Ymir's rethinking the escape plan they have.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
It seems pretty clear.
That way.
Yeah, he's like, hey, like basically don't do it. He actually kind of throws it out there. This is also where what the heck? What was I just gonna say? Ymir says, Historia says I'll always be your ally. Oh, Historia says, you know, why are you doing this? This is crazy. Like, did they threaten you, basically?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that is then the line that Ymir runs with for the rest of the episode. For the rest of this conversation, she goes, totally. Yes,
me.
I was threatened. You're right. That's correct.
And Bertholdt's like, more like the opposite.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, it was reversed.
She threatened us. But yeah, she says, Bertholdt's like, Ymir, do you really want Krista to rot within the walls? If we would have just left, if you wouldn't have had to go back, you know, we would get out. Now, is it going to be all for nothing? Because guess what? The scouts are closing in. Reiner can't run apparently faster than a horse. She's got really big legs. You think
it's because of the armor slows him down, but also he probably didn't have enough time to recover.
Maybe.
True.
Maybe.
Because they didn't go all the way to sundown.
Because if you remember when Annie transformed super quick, she was slower.
Also true.
When she was running.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah. So she says, Ymir kind of gathers herself. It seems like she kind of plots something out in her mind. And she says, Historia, to be honest, the reason I chose you to snatch you away was to save my own life. Years ago, I stole one of their Titan powers from one of their comrades. I can do nothing against them. My crimes are so great, sooner or later they'll kill me. But if I hand you over to them, maybe they'll reduce my crimes. And Historia, I think, remembers the line about, it's because you know the secrets of the wall and you're someone important to the church.
Yeah.
And earlier, Ymir lied to her about why she was stalking her, why she was clinging to her, and she says, is it because of like my background, my family's background? Mm-hmm. That's why you're always around me. And
she goes,
like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's why. Family. Yeah. And so she kind of brings that lie back up and says, yeah, it's because you know secrets of the walls and you're someone important to the church. That's why I can use you as a bargaining chip, essentially.
Now, what's interesting here is there seems to be some truth to that, because in the previous episode with Reiner and Bertholdt and all of them are talking and stuff like that, they're talking about getting Historia. They're talking about retrieving her, right? And whether or not they stay for her or they come back for her eventually, or what how they're going to get her. So we know she's important. We know that Reiner and Bertholdt know she's important. She seems to be part of whatever their mission is. And what am I trying to say? I was trying to thought.
She was used as a bargaining chip. They talked about
so
her
this idea of having her as like a bargaining chip seems to be true, and that she's important. She seems to be an important person in the church. All of that stuff seems to be true. Remember, Pastor Nick was saying, that the Historia was special. The episode that we actually found out her name was Historia.
There's information he can only give to her.
Yeah, information only can give to her. Like, there's a connection that's not made clear perfectly yet. There's a very strong connection between Krista Krista, who we know is actually Historia, and the Church of the Walls inside of humanity, the wall cult or whatever, and then that whatever that connection is, there's something about her that makes her a VIP. What is not said per se, but seems to be the case, is that Historia is she's not totally aware of what that is, though she's partially aware. Does that make sense? Like, it seems like she kind of gets it, but she never like comes out with it and is like, yes, I'm important because A, B and C, or I'm important because I know A, B, and C, or I'm important because I know, quote, the secret of the walls, which is a term they use here. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like she knows any of that stuff.
No.
She does know something. She does know that she came from a background that's not what people thought. She did go by a fake name, but there's a gap between what she knows about herself
and others know,
and what specifically Ymir, Bertholdt, and Reiner seem to know about her as well. So that's worth pointing out.
Ymir says then, once the world started going to hell, I thought being with you could give me the insurance to the future, right? Kind of alluding to that bargaining chip thing. Mm-hmm. I almost died during that castle fight. If that feeling scarred me for life, I'll do whatever it takes to live. I told myself it was for your sake, but really it was all for me. And then she's like expecting like Historia, I think, to, I don't know, go off or whatever. But Historia says, I told you, Ymir, whatever happens, I'll be your ally.
I will always be your ally.
Yeah. It's like Historia always wants to believe the best about people.
That seems to have some kind of an effect
frustrating
on her too.
I think it's the Eren effect, right? It's like when you come into contact with somebody whose moral code is better than yours, and you're like, oh, you're either like really offended or you're like, I want to be like that. You know, I want to have that in my life. I don't want to just always be miserable.
Okay. Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Yes.
Sure.
You got to put the horns on.
We need a fake set of horns to pass around so we could be like,
that's right.
All right. Currently playing devil's advocate. Or actually, I just needed to have like a lawyer costume and a little devil on my shoulder. But I'm his advocate.
Yeah. I was actually thinking as Reiner was running off, he's got like Bertholdt and Reiner, and then he's got like Ymir.
The angel and demon on the
Bertholdt
shoulders.
And,
that's true.
Eren.
Okay, so Krista says, I already told you no matter what, I'll be your ally. So unless I'm losing something in translation here, which is possible, it seems to me that she's doing the thing that I suggest no one ever do, and that I think is morally irresponsible at the least, which is pledging loyalty to a person no matter what.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. You're a human. You're listening to this show. You've been alive long enough to understand probably at least some of the language that I'm speaking right now, which means you've had relationships with other human beings. You're aware.
Huh? We hope.
We hope.
We hope you're not just listening to a closet. if so, hey, reach out, man. We can talk about it.
We'll figure something out for you. You can come hang out with us. COVID be damned. We'll make it happen. So you know that people are capable of doing bad things. All people are capable of doing bad things, and more specifically, that people are capable of changing their minds for the worse. It does happen. It totally happens. I mean, maybe you had a friend who was good friends with you, at first, and then a third friend or an enemy of yours kind of comes in and says bad things about you behind your back, and then this person you thought was your friend kind of turns on you and is like, yeah, like whatever. Like they made a turn for the worse. Like they did something that wasn't correct. Okay. So in a scenario like that, that's just one that has to do with friendship. You've pledged your allegiance to a person, not to any kind of like ethic, not to any kind of like noble principle or any kind of virtue. You've not pledged yourself to do to righteousness or to doing the right thing. You pledge yourself to the person. And now this person is doing something bad. And in this case, they're doing something bad to you. They've actually turned on you. So that might be one thing to be like, okay, well, I'm pledged, I'm committed to be this person's ally, even if they hurt me. That's one thing. In fact, that probably is a good thing to say, listen, we're going to be friends even through the times you hurt my feelings. I mean, that's a sign of maturity. What's different is to say, I'm committed to this person no matter what they do. Well, what if this person turns out to be a murderer? What if this person turns out to have really horrible ideas about what to do with their lives, and they're like, you know what, I'm really committed to drugs, I think cannibalism's a good idea. Like, are you still going to be committed to that? Like,
yeah, that's where our culture gets like the idea of love wrong.
Yes.
We're like, I love them, so I want I want them to achieve their dreams. It's like, no, you need to love somebody enough to tell them, hey, your dream is terrible and it's not good for you and you need to get better dreams. You need to love people enough to tell them like the truth in love and to encourage them beyond the bad things in their life. And that's what actually someone who really loves you will do, is tell you the hard truths. Someone who will tell you the things that nobody else will tell you, right? Otherwise, you're just enabling.
Yeah.
It's not love. That's the codependence.
Yeah.
And that's what our culture gets wrong. It's like, oh, if someone loves me, they'll just encourage everything I do. Yes, everything.
If somebody really loves me, they'll never tell me anything I'm doing is wrong.
Yeah, and they'll never like want me to be better, and they'll just accept me just the way I am. Like, well, what if you're a freaking pedophile? We're not going to accept you like that. We're going to tell you like, hey, we want you to get help. We want you to get better.
What if you have a gambling addiction? You want your friends to just be like, no, listen, live your truth, bro.
I just need unconditional love. Well, yeah, unconditional love, but love doesn't look like accepting your issue. Love looks like helping you get somewhere better.
Yeah, and loving you through the issue. To be faithful to somebody, to be loyal even would be to listen. I'm gonna be here for you and fighting for your best interest perpetually.
Yeah,
and I would say that is
that would be a
right
true
kind of loyalty.
ally.
That would be that'd be a true ally. But to just say, listen, I'll go with you wherever you go, no matter what. I'm committed to you, the person. That's how cults get started. Let me just say, okay.
That's also how you end up being an accomplice to murder.
Or unhealthy relationships just in general. Like you start to all feed off of the same terrible thing. You're like, well, we're loyal to each other. Like, shoot, there's bad people that are loyal too. Like that doesn't mean anything. Like I like loyalty, but only if you're loyal to a good cause, to a good idea.
There it is. Loyal to a principle, to virtue, to something higher than ourselves. Because if you're loyal only to a person, well, people do bad things. And then you're what? You're going to own all the bad things that somebody else does? Or you guys can mutually be loyal to, pledge allegiance to, say, I'm committed to the truth, I'm committed to doing good things, I'm committed to righteousness or whatever. And that when we fail in these things, we'll forgive each other and keep moving towards that. But to say, I'm just committed to this person, like that's a bad idea. Anyway, so all that to say that I think it's at least possible that Krista, who seems to be a little naive, I think, as a character, I think they do kind of paint that picture. In her saying this, I'm going to be your ally no matter what, I think it's a little naive to say that. I do love her heart. I do actually love where she's coming from, because I agree with you. She's ever the optimist. But
it's like she wants to believe the best about somebody, which is awesome, but that's not going to actually help this person get better.
Yeah.
So in the midst of all this craziness, Hannes takes a shot. And I love it. Like, let's go. And don't forget the mission. Rescue Eren. Get him out of there.
Kind of snaps everybody out of their emotional melodrama.
Yeah. He's like, y'all can just keep talking. I'm going to start freaking go to work.
The anime moment ends.
Yeah. He tries to hack at the armor titan's leg.
Yeah. And
in vain and falls down.
Somebody jumps up and Ymir throws him on the ground, right? You were saying like.
Yeah. Somebody tried. I think it was like 2 or 3 different people go at him at the same time. And one of the people, she grabs their line and slams them into the ground.
Yeah.
Annie style.
We're not playing.
That guy's dead.
We're not playing like, oh, whose team is she on? We know whose team she's on. She even says like, I'm with Reiner and Bertholdt now, right?
Yeah, she protected.
All that speech apparently didn't change how she felt, because she just killed one of her friends. Mm-hmm. So Mikasa then comes up and slashes Ymir across the eye. And you're like, wait, who got her in the eye? Like, of course it was Mikasa. Let's go.
She's doing her spinny Mikasa thing.
Yeah.
Spinning through the air and slicing things.
Cutty. And she comes for Bertholdt, who's got Eren, right? And Reiner sticks his 2 hands across his throat, and he protects kind of with this like armored fist.
Bertholdt calls out to him, protect us.
Yeah. And Reiner like protects him as he's running, which, have you guys ever tried to run like this? I'm sure that'd be like
with
terrible.
Your hands like this over your.
That'd be terrible.
It'll slow you down.
Or is it like this? It was like this.
So
that.
Mikasa kind of realizes that she can't break through the bony hands, right? And you see like her peering through the fingertips.
Which, for the record, I think the reason that he does the hands, because I think you mentioned this, and I thought this too, is like, oh, why doesn't he just put them in his jaw and his mouth? Not that he was there for this, but maybe he understands it at least. Remember when Annie had Eren in her mouth, and they just cut the jaw muscles, they were wide open, and then she couldn't do anything about it.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, but he has armored hands, so the reason it's not in the mouth but in the hands is more protective.
It might also have something to do with the fact that it seems like whenever someone is put inside the Titan's mouth, they get encased in goo and go unconscious.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't want to make Bertholdt, his other potential Titan shifting ally,
right,
become unconscious.
So Mikasa's like, okay, well, I can't break through these fingers. I'm gonna have to take out Ymir first. I'll kill everyone, right?
Yeah.
So she goes to try to like get Ymir, and Historia says, Mikasa, please, like, don't.
Historia gets in her way and almost gets killed herself.
Yeah.
The reason I played devil's advocate on against Krista earlier is because of this moment. Because in this moment, I'm like, Krista, F you. Like, Mikasa should have cut you down right then and there, killed Ymir. Mikasa should have just straight killed everyone, gotten Eren, okay? It's up to me.
Krista has good qualities. She's just a little misled right now.
She's naive.
She's just led astray right now.
Well,
okay?
Ymir did appeal to her hero complex and desperately with quivering voice say, please save me, Historia.
Gosh.
So.
True.
So Mikasa's like, oh, you have some facts, some logic, some feelings? Go ahead and I don't care. It doesn't matter, right? Because guess what? Hell hath no fear like a woman scorned.
Well,
you took her man away.
They do have a conversation about the person that they are trying to protect.
Yeah, but it ends up
they
saying
do have
Mikasa's
an exchange.
like, I don't care. I'll kill everyone.
And
to get
Mikasa
there.
says, you choose Eren or Ymir.
Yeah. And she says, I can only care
Because
about so many
basically,
lives.
I'm going to kill you if you're in my way.
Yeah, I'm going to kill everyone in my way. Then she says, basically the appeal that Krista makes is, listen, Ymir just told me they're going to kill her unless she takes me in. It's like my life or hers. Mikasa's like, listen, I only have room in my heart really to care about so many people.
Yeah.
And the enemies I made, the enemies I made 6 years ago made deciding this moment very easy, which is like, I'm not going to choose them. I'm not going to choose anyone. I'm going to choose Eren. And here's the thing is, this I don't want to underestimate the moment, the passion, the Mikasa passion, because Mikasa right here is saying, I'm choosing Eren over all you guys, and why shouldn't she? Why shouldn't she? Here you have in front of her. Think about who's in front of her. Ymir, who's a traitor, obviously a traitor at this point, right?
Reiner and Bertholdt,
who are the actual full-on enemies of humanity, responsible for all the death and destruction and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then in there, they've brutalized and captured Eren, the one person who fought for and saved her life and has been closer to her than flesh and blood for her entire life since childhood. Who else in heaven does she have but Eren? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is it. This is like the one dude. And so it's not just,
right.
hey, I kind of have a crush on you. It's like, no, you're my like closest and only ally for my entire life. And these people, not only that, you relative to the enemies of humanity and the closest person in my life. Listen, Krista, it was nice knowing you, but I got work to do.
I think what you're saying is true, but also everyone else up in there is like gray. Eren is the only like black and white, right?
That's true.
We don't know the nuance and the depth behind Reiner and Bertholdt's motivations. We don't, right? We don't know the nuance and the depth behind Ymir's total story. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even really know what Krista's thinking right now, but we dang sure know what Eren's thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And he's thinking like,
I'm going to destroy all the Titans.
He's thinking,
destroy them all with my own hands.
Like, we don't know where all these guys' loyalties lie. We don't know what they believe. We don't know what they're fighting for, but we know Eren. And at least he's the one good person we can save right now who will help us and for sure help humanity.
Yeah.
Ymir might not help humanity.
Right.
Reiner and Bertholdt probably won't help humanity. They want to kill humanity. Krista may or may not help humanity depending upon what Ymir's doing.
Listen,
Eren
Krista's
is the
got a good
only
heart,
one.
but she ain't capable of much so far. So
Yeah. So Eren is the only one who's like, well, out of all these people, who should you save? The one who's like, I'm 100% on humanity's side, right?
Yeah.
So it not only is, we give Mikasa a hard time because it's like, oh, that's my man or whatever all the time. But in this case, yeah, you're right. She's 100% right. Just kill everybody else because guess what? If you're going to steep yourself in nuance and even like feign against humanity, get out. We don't need you. We're in a war right now.
Yeah. There's really not a lot of room for compromise, so there's, I don't know if they're intentionally trying to kind of like draw this like dichotomy between, Krista, who's hanging out on the fence, and Ymir, who's kind of self-interested and deceptive a little bit. Like, I don't know if they're purposely trying to draw this line, but you have those characters versus Eren, who, as you said, is black and white, but also versus Commander Erwin, who in this episode is also black and white and is like, sacrifice it all, give it all. I mean, we'll get more to that, but I'm saying like, we see kind of in this episode, like the tension, the urgency of the hour sort of reveals who everybody is and where they actually stand, like what they're really capable of doing. We kind of get to see more of like, Jean and Connie and everything. Like we see kind of what's really in people's hearts a little bit. And anyway, it's just interesting because I think Yeah, we'll get to there.
Mikasa says an important line in that. She says, "You're mistakenly asking me for compassion."
Yeah.
It's like,
You
ooh.
pick.
Yeah. Then we go to inside inside Reiner's hands, and Eren's hearing all of the craziness that's happening and the urgency of the situation.
He's
and
like
he is
forcing Bertholdt with his back. Like he's got his legs pressed up against the inside of the hand. He's like forcing him in. He's like, don't struggle. Like,
he's like, I'll hurt you
read
with
his
everything I have, right?
That's
I'll
funny.
like shove myself. I'll break everything, right? And and Connie's like, or sorry, Connie. Bertholdt is like, Eren, stop being so crazy. Just calm down. And we know Eren, right? And we hear from outside, good luck. It's impossible to calm him down. He's the most irritating guy there is. And it zooms out, and sure enough, there's like the squad. There's Connie, there's Armin, there's Sasha, and there's John. And John is like, even now, Eren's being kidnapped. He's busting his balls. He's like, this guy's a freaking pain in his butt.
can't catch a break.
It's like, I know him better than anyone. I hate him as much as you do. Hey, let's beat him up together. Come out of there. Yeah.
I personally think that Jean is trying to encourage Eren in his own special way to fight harder.
I think so too. I think that there's an underlying little like, all right, bro, like I'm ribbing you because I know what you can do. Like now would be a good time. Okay, we have to read this line. So Paris, who we mentioned earlier, the unofficial fourth member of the crew, he said, "Did you already read this comment?"
I didn't read it out loud.
He says, "This part of the season constantly reminds me that these 14, 15, and 16-year-old child soldiers really need therapy."
They can't hold it together.
Well said. Anyway, they do. They do, in fact, all need therapy. They've witnessed lots of violence.
My
and
goodness.
And they're very emotional, which
Seriously.
yeah, they're pent up teenagers anyways. But
That's why Erwin, he's the adult in the room.
Yeah, we've got all of them hanging out, and they're all having their different responses. Like John is immediately going to like kind of goofiness and humor, right? And then it kind of zooms out, and then we see Connie, and Connie says like, "Tell me you guys are kidding, right? Tell me it's all a joke. Tell me you're fooling."
Because he's still reeling. Like this is still kind of the first he's actually seen of them, and now knows and can fully acknowledge like, you were my close friends, and you're actually my worst enemies. Like this is still like that doesn't come easy.
Yeah, and he's kind of asking him like, "I need you guys to tell me with your own face.
Was everything a lie?"
Mm-hmm.
Was it all a lie? Yeah.
And then Sasha chimes in, "Yeah, tell me it's not true."
Yeah. He says, "Didn't we sleep under the same roof for years? For 3 years. Was it all just a lie? Didn't we tell each other we'd grow old together and go get drinks?
Mm-hmm.
What were you guys thinking the whole time?" And these are some like grilling questions, and you could just like feel like it's just doing like a DOT damage just through the hand, just
DOT
burning the heart of
emotional damage.
Bertholdt. Yeah. I don't know if Reiner
He's
like,
starting to crumble. We're like finally seeing him show regret and emotion
yeah.
beyond just, what the crap is wrong with Reiner? Why is he crazy?
He drops another line where he says to think that I think it's Jean. One of them says, I don't know if this is Connie who says it, but to think that the invader could sleep next to his victims.
Yeah.
I was like,
that was Jean that said that.
Oh,
Yeah, the way he was sleeping
that's
was
right. Yeah,
a funny thing. And
yeah, kind of this like fond memory of like, oh, Bertholdt used to sleep in these funny positions. We used to see if we could use
Jean was talking
poses
about all that. Yeah.
Yeah, see if we could use your poses to predict the weather. It's kind of to build that like, hey, we have like a lot of sentiment, a lot of like history together. We actually know you really well. We know lots of things about you like personally, and to think like you were the invader and you're sleeping next to your victims. But like, how do you like? And it does. Here's the thing: is that question he's asking is a really good question. Like, how do you square that circle? Like, how do you
live with yourself?
Because okay, it's like self-justifying is like just human nature. It's kind of just it's just what people do, right? You do something wrong and you look for an excuse as to why it was okay, or why it wasn't as bad as it looks, or as bad as people think. Like that's pretty normal. And it's definitely again a real question throughout time in history. Like, why do people who've done really horrible things, like how did they justify that to themselves in the moment? Because for the most part, and by for the most part, I would say basically 100% of the times, people doing the most wicked acts, murder and rape and pillaging and just whatever it is, whatever kind of crime you can think of, like people doing those things almost never believe that they're doing the wrong thing while they're doing it. And that would be true probably of most like bad stuff that people do. Like in the moment, they don't think what I'm doing is wrong. Usually, some maybe after the fact, there's regret or something like that. But for the most part, people are like, no, like I'm good.
I had to
good.
do that.
I had to, or something. Usually the most common one I feel like today is like, well, I'm a victim. Like, yeah, somebody else maybe do it. The system maybe do it. I'm oppressed for this, that, or the other, and therefore, I do these bad things, but it's okay because I have an excuse.
Justify themselves.
Yeah, and self-justification. And you have to wonder because everybody's got their own version of it. Like Bertholdt, Reiner apparently his coping methods was develop two personalities.
One's the good one, one's the bad one, and you forget everything.
One is a soldier, one's a warrior.
Yeah.
Have a little schizophrenia to help you out. And then Bertholdt, though, what did you tell yourself at night? Like, you slept next to these people and you didn't think to yourself, like, I'm responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of people and probably like Eren's parents and
all the sad stories I've heard of all the people who lost their families, and Armin's only living relative was cold, and all these awful things. I did all that.
Yeah, that's because of me. So
they poke the bear, and the bear does eventually.
They're all like just shooting arrows, like just spitting darts at these guys, and I'm glad. I need these guys to like face up to what they've done to come to grips, right? And Mikasa says, "What does it matter? Like what their answers are." They're enemies of humanity.
And that's all there is to know.
It's like just Mikasa
and
just
that
has this
is what crumbled. That's what made him crumble finally. That's what cracked him though.
Because all these other guys they're appealing to their humanity. And Mikasa's like, no, you guys don't get it. These aren't humans. These are monsters.
It doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter. Nothing they say. You can't trust any of these guys are freaking animals, And Bertholdt cracks and he says, "What? Who the hell? Tell me who the hell would want to kill people by their own choice? Do you think I wanted to do this? People hate and despise us because of what we've done, such terrible things. We deserve to die, but we couldn't come to terms with our sins. The only time we had respite is when we pretended to be soldiers. We deceived you, but we swear it wasn't all a lie. We considered you comrades. I know we don't have the right to apologize. So someone please find us."
So this actually answers my question from earlier. Like, what was his coping mechanism? Like, how did he justify it to himself? He just, now, this is all inferred, of course, but they made me do it. Someone made me do it. Who the hell wants to do this?
I didn't have a choice. Yeah.
And remember,
who wants to kill people by their own choice? Do you think I wanted to do this?
Yeah.
So he's saying
there's a pause there too, and it zooms out to all of their faces, including Mikasa, and they're all kind of in shock that he's saying this, and he's yelling, and he's very loud. Because up until now, he's been described as being the quiet one in the group who didn't talk all that often.
Well, remember too, in the forest, what Ymir says, right? Ymir says, "Eren, like, if you think killing these two will do anything, you're an idiot, basically." And you're like, wait a second, like, all of season 1, these invaders are the enemies of humanity. These are the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And just in season 2, we're starting to get a little bit of that nuance. It's like, maybe these aren't the only bad guys. Maybe this isn't the only thing. And now here it's confirmed.
The plot thickens.
Here it's confirmed. Reiner and Bertholdt says, "You think we wanted to do this?"
Somebody put them up to it. Somebody, something, somehow, somewhere, put them up to this.
Well, which once again brings us back to why in the world would they send 4 kids in to do this? Why did they choose children?
Yeah, who, why, all the
because
enemy?
Yeah, exactly. Because small humans are easier to control sometimes.
That's a good point.
Young people are easier to pull one over on as far as convincing them that if they don't do XYZ, then something else will happen worse.
Get these soldiers some therapy.
Yeah, seriously.
So Mikasa's like, yeah, you better give Eren back right freaking now or I'm going to kill you, right? Like, she doesn't care. You can burst out as much as she wants.
She's like a dog with a bone. She can't let go.
Uh-huh.
She like drops, she's the one to drop the hard line of like, doesn't matter anymore. Like,
just
they're
kill
the
them
enemies.
all.
That's all there is to know. And he like gives his like heartfelt like cry. He's like, no, we were put up to this. Like, I don't want to do this. And like, I can't ask for your forgiveness.
We were your comrades.
He like pours his heart out and she just goes,
she stabs it.
Give him back. Now,
yeah.
Okay.
She says it similarly to how she says, Annie, fall. She's very calm. She's like, Bertholdt, give Eren back.
This is all that matters.
So I kind of have to side with Mikasa a little bit. I see both sides of it. I'll say it that way. Because if what Bertholdt's saying is true, which it sure sounds true, it looks true. He's either a very convincing actor
He's
or
crying when he's saying it.
Yeah, which is possible.
I can't get tears in command like that.
Listen, he might have been trained. Whoever put him up to it might have just.
Well, anyway, we're getting sidetracked.
All right. So what I'm saying is like he gives this like heartfelt like response, and I hear that and like I actually understand it. Okay, good sidetrack for a second. Imagine for a second, because this is like a story that actually happens. Like a couple are like dating or whatever, and it's like boyfriend and girlfriend, and the boyfriend like gets really angry and he's like had some alcohol and he like hits his girlfriend, right? Horrible situation. Like that is one of the worst things you could possibly do. If you betrayed so many things, it's horrible. So then girlfriend is like, you suck, like get out, whatever. So eventually they talk again, they come to terms. He's like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean it, like it's not gonna happen. I'm reformed and whatever. So they get back together. And then they go for a little while, like things are okay. And then sure enough, once again, he gets angry. He like beats her again. Okay.
Break his arms.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly. So here's the thing is, so same thing. He comes back around. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Like, it's just like the alcohol, and like I'm struggling, blah blah. And like, okay, there comes a point at which you go, all right, listen. Whether or not you're sorry is less relevant to whether or not you're likely to do this thing again. That's kind of the real important thing there. Now, we can forgive you, but trusting you again is not something that should be done. Now, that woman, if she's smart, should say, I forgive you, we can move on, but there is no we anymore, right? You have to get out of that relationship because it's an abusive relationship. And the thing is again, it is not worth, like forgiving him is perfectly fine and probably and good and helps, your heart move on, so on and so forth. But trusting him again is not something you should do. Okay, the abusive boyfriend in this case is Bertholdt, right? He transforms, he busts a hole in the wall, and then it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I joins the scouts, like makes friends with everybody, so on and so forth. And then right as they finish the scouts, he does it again. Whether or not he was put up to it. And here's the thing is I can understand. I have empathy to the fact that, okay, there's a real struggle going on with him. But that is actually less relevant than whether or not he's likely to do something massively destructive to humanity and to these, his friends, the cadets and stuff. That's like his penitent heart is less relevant than whether or not he's likely to be a massive risk to them all again. So when Mikasa's kind of like a little heartless here, she's kind of like, okay, well, that's nice, but give him back, right? Like she's like, that's cool, but there's nothing else to really say. I kind of am with her because I'm like, listen, I hear you, bro, and I want you to come into the fold. I totally do, but know this, I'll never trust you, and I can't, and why should I?
Right.
I'll forgive you, but I'm not gonna like be like, oh yeah, you know what? He's not such a bad guy. Like we should totally, we should trust him. It's okay. It's chill. No, do whatever you need to do. Yeah. Anyway, you see.
I feel like they're saying if you're claiming you're our ally, prove it. Give us Eren right now. Do the right thing. Start showing us that we can trust you. Start showing us that you're changed or whatever, that you meant what you just said.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what they're appealing to. And here he says, someone had to be the one to do it. Someone had to be the one to get their hands dirty, right? And he says,
spoken like a true gangster.
I can't give Eren up. You're like, dang, what is it that's so important that he continues on?
Yeah, he says he can't. He doesn't say I won't. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that's driving him, he is convinced.
Too deep and I'm trying to keep above in my head instead of getting cut up by Mikasa again.
He's convinced that he doesn't have a choice.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
At that moment.
But he's also crying out for someone to find him, which is what is
that
that
part
about?
Actually wrenches in my heart when he says that. Like the voice actor does
someone please find me. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How are they lost? What is he talking about?
Someone come set things right again?
Come find us. Okay.
What is that about?
We'll cover more maybe in the spoiler section.
Right.
All right, no, forget it. I'll save for the spoiler. I'm gonna make a note. We'll come back to this for spoilers.
So at that very moment, the stallion of the scouts, Erwin Smith himself.
Wait, doesn't Hannes come
Hannes
up
warns
again
them.
and say, get off of him.
Yeah, jump off, yeah.
Get out of there. Look what's in front of you. And then
we see, because where was Erwin this whole time? You'd think he'd be right there.
You see his laser beam focus.
And you realize, wait a second, they led those Titans around in a circular motion and got in front of the Beast Titan running, or sorry, the Armored Titan running, and they're leading an entire horde.
They're pinching.
Well, it seems like Hannes and the 117th people split off from each other, and from Erwin, they went different directions and went around.
Yeah, because we know the horses are faster than the Titans. So he went ahead, brought him around, and now he's just kiting out like an entire group of pure Titans. He's going to run him right smack dab.
This reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's the movie with, gosh, what is it called? I can't think of the name of the film now, but Tim Allen's in it, and it's like a space parody.
Oh.
Yes.
And at the very end, he's like, you don't know that we're dragging mines.
Yes.
It's just, anyway, it's just like that. It reminds me of that scene. Galaxy Quest.
That's what it was.
It reminds me of that moment when you're like, what is he thinking? And then he goes, we're dragging mines. And they just like blow up the ship. Anyway.
Yes.
It's like that, except it's Titans. And
so
one of the they cut the scene where they cut to one of the like MPs or something like that. And he's like, he's basically like, Erwin, you're effing crazy.
You like, demon, you're using us as bait again.
Yeah, you're doing this again or whatever. And then that's when they show like Erwin all crazy eyed. He's got Titans behind him. Like
they literally show like laser beams coming out of his eyes, and he's looking right at the armored Titans.
Yep. And so the scouts wheel out from both sides, and we know that the Titans, they want to eat Titan shifters, right? Because we've seen it happen with Annie, we've seen it happen with Eren before, and so he just throws all these hungry Titans smack dab into the friggin' running armored Titan, and it's just like a collision of body and people getting flung.
This whole scene, I couldn't take a lot of notes. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. It's actually one of the most compelling. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening.
This is nuts.
Reiner like shoulders down and tries to, what is it?
Football tackle kind of.
Yeah, I don't know what that move is. Through. Pile drive. I don't know.
Well, charge.
Through.
It's called charge. That's what the episode's called.
And he's successful for the first 4 or 5 of them.
And then,
but there's just so many, and they're getting flung around. There's chaos, and
plus he's got his hands like this the whole time.
Yeah, he can't do much.
John looks up and he's like, "Is this hell?" And Levi's like, "No, what does he say? No, it's about to be, or something like that."
No, but it's about to be. Yeah.
And he says, "All soldiers, charge!" And he lifts up his sword like a shimmering knight of the comeback sentence, and he says, "The fate of humanity hangs on this moment. There is no future where humanity can inhabit these lands without Eren. Recover Eren and retreat. Charge! Give your hearts!"
Oh yeah, that's right.
Shinzo Sasageyo, he says, "Give your hearts," right? And just charges into the fray, and you're like, I want to be that man.
I'd die with you, Erwin. I'd go into battle with you.
That's right.
Here's the thing. We have to go back to this. I know I kind of already said this, but come on. This is Erwin practicing what he has preached. He has said it for season 1, season 2 now. You have to be willing to abandon everything. You have to be able to take more of a gamble, more of a risk than your opponent. That is how they've been defeated and had all these losses. And the only wins that they've gotten, the only times that humanity's had a genuine win, is when they were willing to go.
And they risk it all.
We go absolutely for broke. All the chips in, which this is the most all chips in move you can possibly make. The most dangerous, and
think about
it. Win all or lose all moment.
He just said, think about it. Okay, these guys have giant Titan abilities. They can turn into a Titan. They can kick down our walls. They can bust in. They can hide. They can, disguise themselves. Mm-hmm. If we lose Eren, we cannot fight them.
Yeah,
he's right.
But
Eren's the first comebacks, the first victories they've had against the Titans generally
ever
at all have come because of Eren.
And the only way
let that go
through humanity to survive is with Eren. So we have to risk it all for this. And he screams. He says, "Advance!" And he's charging, and it's glorious.
Well, I want to point out, just maybe it's a subtle thing, but Mikasa and Jean immediately follow him, and Armin too. All 3 of them immediately go with him, and other people hesitate for a second, and then they take off, and they're like, "Oh!" And so then they follow, because the 3 of them immediately, "Let's go."
I wrote this note
I thought that was pretty cool.
I don't know what I meant by a little more. Do you remember what a little more meant?
I don't know. Maybe when he gets, they're going in and.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I do know that they cut over on the military police right here, and he goes, "Those crazy scouts!" What are you guys doing? He just doesn't understand it. Still, here's the thing: is actually even that moment's speaking to what the episode's about. Because he goes, you crazy scouts, like, I'm going to stay back here where it's safe. And he turns around and he's like, huh?
His homeboy gets munched.
And one of his fellow MPs
like a
is
cracker.
getting eaten off a horse. And the thing is like, this is one of those situations where there's only the one right thing to do. There's the only safe thing to do is the most dangerous thing to do is to charge headlong right in battle, like going with Erwin. This is your one good shot, bro. Like,
So he's screaming, advance, advance, as he's screaming, trying to rally all the troops, trying to lead the charge, right? He's showing, he's modeling, and he's giving commands. And as that happens, an explosion, a Titan grabs Erwin by
One of the
arm,
crawly ones that's not normal.
tackles him off his horse, and everyone goes, oh, no.
He grabs his arm and munches him.
And we're like, no, they killed our commander. What do we do? And our commander, literally in the jaws of the Titan,
As he's being drug away,
says, advance! Like, don't you think
with
about
his
me?
other arm and his sword out, advance! And Armin's like, right, and keeps going.
Yeah. And in the fray, in the midst of all of this craziness, which is like such a boss moment, like even as you're going down, you're like, never give up, never surrender. So
He's the best guy ever. Like,
yeah,
just so cool. I mean, Jesus is actually the best guy ever, but anyway.
Is that close, number 2?
Not that close, but pretty close.
Okay, all right. Well, Jesus was, called some bad names too, but Erwin was called the devil several times. So, but he says, Bertholdt and Reiner. Reiner's like, there's only one way I can get out of this. Oh, that's what a little more means. He has to let go and he has to start throwing these guys off.
Yeah,
of him.
he says, brace yourself, Bertholdt. But of course, again, Bertholdt can't hear him because this is all in his head.
And he's throwing these guys off, and he says, a little more. I can get these guys. If I can just get a little bit of movement, I can run off. I can get free.
Yeah, but he has to expose his hand in order to do that.
And he says, we're going to our hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, right, Armin has that thought as he sees Commander Erwin Commander Erwin getting like pulled away. He's screaming like, advance. And he says, those who can't abandon anything can't change anything.
Yeah, he has that little moment.
Is
Erwin was
literally
willing.
giving his life, right?
And so,
but that happens after Mikasa. He's like, how are you going to get through all that? Because when he lets go, they see Eren. And she's like, that's our chance. We got to get him. And Armin's like, how are you going to get through all those Titans, you crazy lady? I mean, he doesn't say you crazy lady, but she does it. She does it. He follows her.
She tries to take a slash. She misses, and Eren like screaming through his gag, and she realizes behind me.
There's a Titan.
She gets grabbed. Oh no! Right? She made a mistake, and as that happens, luckily she carved a path, and Armin followed her right behind.
Well, yeah, and luckily Jean is able to run in there too because Mikasa's more or less dead here because she gets caught out. Because she gets grabbed from behind, and Jean actually jumps in and freaking saves the day, which I really love that.
Because Jean and Armin were with Mikasa the whole time.
That's not the first time.
The
Jean's
three
done
of
that.
them immediately. immediately.
Love me some Jean, dude. What a cool guy.
He's an ace in the hole. He's a complainer sometimes, but we still like him.
Yep.
So Armin lands on Reiner's like shoulder, and he's looking at Bertholdt, and he's thinking, and it's a thought that takes 1,000 minutes, but he's thinking. What do I have to abandon? Do I have to abandon my life to save us or something else? And he says, oh, yeah. You can see the Armin wheels processing, like, what do I have? What do I have? Oh, yeah, Annie. Annie, that's what I have.
And not only
he
that.
He flashes to a memory of Annie walking away and Bertholdt watching her, and he realizes the same thing that Reiner realized, that he had a thing for her.
Yeah, he stares too much.
Armin is like the most... Yeah.
Right, and he gets this diabolical, crazy, like, like Joker face for a second. Yeah.
Reiner, that is a good observation. Reiner does say it literally just like two episodes ago. He says to Bertholdt, he's like, when we get back, you're going to have to tell Annie how you feel. He's like, huh? He's like, yeah, you stare too much.
Yeah.
And then the scene that they use to allude to that is Armin, who's the ever observant, like... collector of information and deducer of facts. That's the moment they cut back to, is him noticing that, like, oh, okay, he was like staring at her, like, and then he gets crazy eyed, and then he's like, oh yeah, that Annie girl, they're really messing her up back there.
Well, actually, first he says, are you really gonna abandon her? And it gets to both of them.
Yeah.
Like, you see that it cuts to Reiner inside his Titan guy. He's like like he's been gut punched.
Do you
Are
know
you
where
really
she
going to
is?
leave your comrade behind? Yeah.
She's far north right now, being tortured.
Can I call this right now?
Deep in the basement of somewhere. Like
Because he gives a fairly specific place
Yeah.
of where she is. And we don't actually know. Like, it's not actually been said to us, the viewer. So, but Armin is clearly bluffing here because she's in a freaking crystal. Like, they can't do anything to her. So he's telling a lie to get a response out of Bertholdt. I feel like he's intentionally planting that information. $5 as that information comes back up later.
Oh, yeah, because he gives a very
I
specific
thought so, too.
location.
I feel like it's almost like Utgard Castle.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, don't you know? Like, yeah, he's in this spot. Anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
So he says something like only I feel like a Japanese translation would say. Like, we would never say this, but it's very funny. He's like, it was her screams that taught us something, that even healing won't stop the pain. As we speak, nothing stops them from torturing her. They've taken special care to make sure she still stays alive through it all. They're doing everything they know to her, right? Like, what a terrible.
He's literally speaking their nightmares.
Yeah, Armin's
right now.
like, oh, I know your weakness, and I'm gonna go. Well, so I'm gonna use everything I have.
He's doing everything he can to completely distract them.
Yeah, I may
It
have the
reads-
physical ability of a daffodil, but I've got the mental ability of a colossal titan.
That's
son.
right, dude. It reads like if you ever played, there's a game, Tenchu Stealth Assassins is like an old PlayStation game, of course, Japanese game or a Sony game, and like it totally, the dialogue is exactly like this. I feel like all those old Japanese, all the RPGs and stuff like that too, when they do the translations, they read sort of like this, and you're like, well, I would never say it that way, but it's very interesting now that you mention it. Like,
I feel like Armin kind of transformed into a shark at
Yeah.
that moment, and he was like, "There's blood in the water."
Well, Armin had to abandon his like gentleness.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
what he had to abandon, and he had to be like, I
and
need to
his
go hard.
honesty,
I need
because
to
he's
go hard.
completely lying.
Yeah, and so he says, yeah, they're taking special care to make sure she stays alive during all the torture, right? And Bertholdt's like, you monsters!
you spawn of evil or whatever.
Yeah.
He
I'm like,
snaps.
Okay, pot, calling the kettle black here.
Yeah,
He like bursts out,
and then he's
he
like,
tries
"I'll
to,
kill you all."
yeah, he tries to like go after Armin, and right when that happens,
Oh, clutch.
Eren gets saved, but by who, you ask?
Oh,
The
I
very
wonder.
person that Armin flashed to right before he did all this crazy stuff.
It was a one-armed man.
Yeah. A one-armed Erwin is better than half of the scouts out
His
there, bro.
eyes, he still has that same laser beam focus,
I know
on
his
Eren.
eyes, they burn like
and
laser beams.
he comes up and just slices Eren free.
He doesn't kill Bertholdt, which is surprising.
No, he doesn't.
I'm like, okay.
But
maybe
I mean,
he had two arms. I
He
don't know.
has just the one arm. But then he does the coolest thing ever and just falls directly onto his
Lands
horse's
on his
saddle
horse.
and rides off.
He's Captain Winters from, or Colonel Winters or whatever.
What
from,
the heck?
from Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
Impervious to danger in that moment.
So
It's
Erwin-
such a clutch
And
moment because
Armin laughs with delight. Did you catch that
No,
part?
I was just too mesmerized.
He was like, "It worked."
so he gets Armin. This is such a like a coordinated, like perfect team effort. Like Armin gets the distraction, like gets him all emotionally worked up. Jean has actually just saved Mikasa's life. Armin saved his own life apparently. He saved his own Bick and rode all the way back into battle. Or Erwin. So Erwin cuts the hand. Mikasa makes the save. Armin's responsible for it was a bump set spike, like just perfect like team effort.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, soldiers.
Yeah.
Well, true salute to you.
So then we cut to Ymir, and Ymir is being attacked by the mob of Titans, and she's only a small Titan herself. She got some good moves, but she's being overwhelmed. She goes down, and she's about to die. And Historia
Who knew she had it in her?
busts out. She does her little spinny thing, gets
Orange
her
slice.
first kill on a Titan to save Ymir, who just killed some of her friends. So we're okay with that.
Yeah. Mm.
So then Ymir is like, "Oh, you saved me!" Historia's like, "Ymir," and then Connie like grabs Krista, and she's like, Historia like, "We're getting out of here."
He's on his horse, so he's like moving quick.
And of
picks up-
course, Ymir chases after like the crazy giant Titan monkey thing.
Yeah, and Historia's like, "What are you doing? Leave me be. I want to be. I want to be here."
I need to stay with her. We're gonna go with them.
And she's like, "Yeah. Ymir said that if I don't go with them and they don't trade my life for hers, then she's gonna be killed." And Sasha and Connie are both there, and like Remember, like we said, like they're not the brightest like bulbs, and
they're not the brightest bulbs on the Christmas tree.
But
okay?
they're not Armin.
Yeah, they're not Armin.
But they're not stupid either.
Connie has some wisdom to share in this moment. He's like, she said that.
Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The only
Sasha
thing she
says,
cares about
"She's
is
lying."
saving you. Yeah, the only thing she cares about is saving you. The only time she came alive was when she wanted to defend you.
Yeah, when you were in trouble. That's
Why
the only
would
time
she
ever
trade your
any effort.
life for hers? Like she loves you, you know. And so he's like, oh.
And then he says, "Yeah, you need to calm down
That's a good point. Yeah.
and let's go."
And Connie says, even an idiot would have
Sasha's
figured
hungry.
that out.
Yeah. Sasha's like, let's go chow down or whatever. She's like ready to go. Like in the middle of like the fight for their lives. She's ready to go for lunch.
She's just always thinking about boiled potatoes.
and Connie's dropping shit like, any idiot could figure that out. And you're like,
Yes.
Connie, you do realize that you didn't put together Bertholdt and Reiner being the Titans. So you also didn't put together. Well, actually, wait. To his credit, he kind of got convinced out of it. But like the Titan that looked like your mom was actually your mom. Yeah.
Connie is not as stupid as he might seem, and neither is Sasha.
And to be
I just
fair,
need to point that out.
we love Connie. Like he's our boy.
I'm
you know?
I'm his number one fan.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm
So-
gonna dress up as Connie for Halloween.
Oh,
You gonna
really?
shave your head?
I was thinking about going Johnny Lawrence and Cobra Kai.
Yeah, but we already have the outfit, the scout jackets. I'm
Oh.
halfway to a costume right here. I literally just need. I have like a month.
All right. Speaking of
Anyway.
sidetracked. Anyway, yeah.
All right, so yeah,
Reiner
so
starts throwing Titans.
Yeah,
Jinx.
which is a boss move.
It's like the
Incredibly
biggest
beastly.
fit anyone's ever thrown.
He's just like full overhand throwing Titans as if, I don't know, like a gallon of milk. Like he hugs
And he's
these
like
things.
screaming while he's doing. He's like, "Ah!" It's sort of like when one of the toddlers in my class throws a fit and starts throwing chairs across the room, except it's with Titans,
Yeah.
and it makes
just
the
like
ground
that.
explode.
Yeah, and
Steam.
he's throwing them. I don't know if this is on purpose or not. It looks like it is because he's throwing them into the path of all of the fleeing scouts as they've got Eren and Mikasa and Eren apparently get hit or some explosion or what happens.
I think a chunk of ground like launches them off of their horse
Yeah, they stumble and they fall down.
because their horse
and
goes down too.
Mikasa kind of remembers like maybe her ribs got jacked up from that.
Something snapped when it grabbed her. You heard the crunching sound, and
Yeah, the
she
Titan.
screamed in pain.
And so she kind of gets up and she's like, she can't move. She's,
She's
like, Eren.
wounded. She's wounded, if not from both incidents. Like
Yeah.
the Titan coming down plus
Yeah.
And this
Plus,
sucks for Eren
being thrown
because
off a horse.
he's got both of his arms tied. And so
Yeah, he's
I don't know if you've ever fallen and not been able to brace yourself, but it
he
sucks.
ate it
Yes.
so hard.
I have. Okay, random side story. When I was a kid, me and my sister were out in the driveway and messing around, and she put me in a suitcase. Oh, can you fit in the suitcase? I'm like, oh yeah. And I was like, it's a big suitcase. So I
You
let
fell
her
for
like
the, can you fit in the suitcase?
so. I let her and her friend like zip me up in the suitcase, right? And our driveway is on a very slight incline, and I'm like, wait, no, let me out. And I shook the suitcase just enough, and it was standing upright. It's one of those
Gravity did
rectangular
its
shaped
thing,
ones
yeah.
or whatever. And so the suitcase starts to tip or whatever, and I can't put my hands out to stop myself from falling. And so I'm literally only falling the height of, an 8 or 9 year old, however old I was, like probably like Sia's age, like not even that. I think it's probably younger, but like it tips and I can't put my hands out to like stop myself. And I got a freaking mild concussion because it was just pavement. It was just my head, just full body weight in the suitcase, just blam on the side of it. My sister was in so much trouble, and I was like pissed at her for weeks.
So you got serious hand injury when you were young. That explains so much.
There's more than one actually.
Oh, man. Yeah. So if you can't
I
brace
can't
yourself,
have rainbows.
it hurts really bad. And so Eren
Oh,
just
man.
gets chucked from a horse and he can't stop himself.
I know his hands are tied, and he just.
And we see him slowly start to rouse. And right when that happens,
Out of the
Eren and
clouds of
Mikasa
steam and
get to
destruction.
face their nightmarish past together.
the clown Titan. It's the same Titan
Same Titan and the same two kids.
that ate Eren's mom from the
Mhm.
beginning.
Dang, dude. To be
To be
continued.
Talk about a full circle moment.
Seriously. Well, if you aren't aware, it's about to
Things
to go
are
down.
about to get real, guys.
This is the best finale to any specific season
I
of any
was
show I think
angry
I've ever
for
seen.
several days after this that there wasn't more, and that I
Yeah.
was gonna have to wait a long time.
This next episode, I seriously think is like one of the most like satisfying like. Anyway,
It's a great
really well done.
episode. So we're really excited to cover this one. If you've been grading like we have these episodes with Taco Bell hot sauce, this one is on hot, but we're about to get into fire. So
Yeah,
next
yeah.
episode,
Yeah.
gets fire. Maybe a
It's
little
Black
volcanic,
demon fires.
okay?
Yeah, what's
It's
the black
it's
one?
straight up volcanic.
I
It's
don't know.
magma.
Yeah, I can't remember.
magma.
Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have not already and you have been listening to the show consistently, we'd really appreciate it if you would go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review in the show. We would appreciate it. That's kind of just helps us get the word out. Yeah, we're really pumped. Obviously, season 4 again, December 7th. We're going to do our absolute best to make sure that we are either already caught up in terms of episodes. Regardless, we'll find a way to cover those episodes the day they drop. So you will find us here on Facebook. So if you're listening to this on podcast, go to Facebook. Facebook.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Go like the page, follow the page. That way we'll be able to digest season 4 together as the episodes come. Yeah, you can find us on YouTube, of course, if you want to watch the episodes there. And if you are watching and not listening, you can find us on Spotify and iTunes and all the places you listen to podcasts. So, do not forget, please continue to email us. We've got some great emails. Seriously, even if you've already done it before, and don't worry, you get as many as you want. That's actually been one of the coolest parts, is kind of interacting with people with the emails and seeing getting into a little more deeper conversations with everybody. I'd like to do more of that. I wish we could do more of that.
I've actually got some theories to read in the spoiler section and some questions to ask from some of our fans.
From some commenters. Okay. All right, so we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, thanks again for listening, watching. Email us, beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. This is your spoiler warning. We're about to get into it knee deep in 3, in 2, in 1. Okay, I hope your phone's off, because I'm about to spoil something, right? I'm about to just straight
just hit it with it.
Dude, the Clown Titan is Eren's mother-in-law.
No, it's not his mother-in-law. It's his. No,
it's the closest thing.
No, it's his father's first wife.
It's
his father's first wife. So it's not even his stepmom, because you can't be a stepmom until your father was married to your mom and then got remarried.
Okay, but describe the relationship in a single 2-word phrase.
It's his father's first wife.
Anyway,
period.
It is intense in there.
Okay, well,
sorry.
Thanks for stealing my thunder. But,
you're welcome. Call me Rachel, stealer of thunder.
Okay, so earlier
Better
I was
than
going to get into
Rachel,
this.
the girl with hair and glasses. Oh.
He's still salty about that?
No, not really.
It's okay. Next time you can be like, Eric, the guy with teeth and a hat and a watch. Teeth and a watch.
If you're the guy with teeth, I hope I don't lose my teeth by the next episode.
Well, if you go stuffing yourself into suitcases and knocking yourself over, you might not have any.
A suitcase?
I had a wild childhood, okay, guys? Anyway, that's not true. It's a very super normal childhood. Okay, so the moment where Ymir is like, okay, hang on. How do we get into this? We're talking about Ymir making the transaction, saying like, oh, well, they told me if I give you, if I give up, Historia, that they'll give me my life. They didn't really say that. That was never part of the deal. The deal was like, come with us. Come with us, and we'll see what they did say, come with us, and we'll see what we can do for you. But it wasn't, come with us, we'll see what we can do for you, and it will go better for you if you also have Krista with you. They literally were saying to her before then, like, no, don't worry about it. Like, don't bring Krista. We'll come back for her. Like, trust me, we really want her too.
Because she's important to
but
us.
Only
but
because
the better
they
move,
said there's no way we can get Krista and get out safely.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is it's not that they don't desire her. They do. They're just saying that tactically speaking, it's not going to happen. And so what I think is happening is I think Ymir's doing the math in her own head, and she's going, okay, I understand they're saying that, but what if I can make it happen? Because she's pretty aware that when she goes back to freaking Marley, they're gonna be like, yeah, you stole this power, we're taking that back, and goodbye. Like, how else is that gonna pay? So the thing we
think is that she is playing into Krista's, Historia's hero complex, and she's like, oh, save me, please. And Historia's like, I'll always be your ally. She's like being the hero that we know her to be, and she's wanting to be selfless, so she's going to lay her own life down to save Ymir. But we think that this is not actually the truth. What Ymir is doing is trying to get Krista out of there, but the reason she's trying to get Krista out of there is because we think what she said about there's no future within the people in the walls. We think she knows about how Marley is way advanced. They've got military, they've got armies, they've got guns, they've got bombs. and there's no way the
Airships.
people in the wall can fight a
defend against
war.
that.
And so she'll just be a casualty. So maybe if we can get her out, maybe if we can convince her, no matter what you have to say, convince her to come out, and somehow she's going to have a better life, a better chance out there. Which blows my mind because you came from the gulags. You came from prison camps and getting murdered for treason.
I don't even know if she saw the gulag. It seemed like they just marched him that night, just marched him out to the freaking wall.
Yeah.
Just like good night.
Yeah. So
It seemed like that, but they took them somewhere. They were in a line. They were loading them up onto some sort of transport. We don't actually know.
At the
time
very
frame,
least,
sure,
you came from a tyrannical government that can kill you without a trial. At the very least.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering is, does Ymir know that the place that she came from was more advanced 60 years ago than the one that she's in now?
Say it again.
So she was in Marley, we're assuming 60 years in the past, right? So back then, 60 years ago, was that society more technologically advanced than the one within the walls?
Yeah.
Is in the present time.
Yeah.
So obviously she would know that, 60 years of advancement would be even more than what it was when she was there.
Sure.
So
she's at least
so she would be even more scared for them.
Right. There's no way
that
they can handle.
There's no way they could bridge that gap of technology.
Right. So I think she is trying to do something good in her weird Ymirian way, where she says the wrong things with the good intention to try to get Historia out of there, because maybe there's a chance that she won't just be murdered as a casualty of war in the future.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But my real spoiler thing that I wanted to talk about here was actually Ymir's dead, period. No matter what. She may kind of know that, she may not, but there's just no doubt in my mind, like season 4 comes around, she goes to Marley.
I don't think she
There's
knows.
no reason for them to keep her. They don't.
Well,
for sure they don't.
She already
How
says
does
that.
it happen?
Well, she already says that. She already says that, so I should stick around until you feed me to one of your warriors?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Sooner or later,
already
they're gonna kill
worked
me.
that out.
So my question is it would be very unfortunate if Isayama didn't give us a shot, give us a quick scene of exactly how that goes down. Because I want to know.
Yeah, I agree.
And I actually,
The fate of Ymir.
I think we just don't have enough information to say exactly, but I am curious how exactly that goes down. Like, what does Ymir say when she gets there? Like, is this happening? Is this like a ceremony? Is there like a trial? Like, I just am really curious, like, what exactly happens to Ymir when they take her powers? Like, does somebody have her memories? And the thing is that this episode, or not this episode, but this show, and I'm realizing this as I'm saying this show has a couple of has some loose ends that you think are going to kind of get like tied up, but they don't. So, okay, for instance, this is a small one, but like Bertholdt and Annie. Bertholdt, I think, dies, and Annie's in the crystal. That never gets resolved. There's never a, like, they get to come back together, he gets to confess his feelings. Like, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
Yeah.
What's interesting is Armin, who may also have a slight crush on Annie, gets his Titan.
Becomes, yeah.
Well, the other thing,
So does he have his Titan
The
memories?
next
Is it tied that way?
Yeah.
And then the same question between Ymir and Krista. Like, there's no doubt that this is the last. This next episode, I guess, will be the last time
They see
that
each other.
They see each other ever. Period. Because
Yeah.
Ymir's dead.
The
Almost
other
for sure.
thing, Reiner says, we're going to get back to our hometown. There's no we, buddy. Bertholdt's going to die.
Bertholdt's never going to go back
He's
home.
never going to get back home.
Yeah.
Only you're going to get back there.
Kind of a props to Isayama for doing that. Most shows wouldn't do it that way. Like, he's so brutal to us, the viewers.
They set you up and they just wreck you.
Just let it die. Anyway.
That's not that
Spoilers?
uncommon, though. Like, even in SAO, they do that.
The
Where the character is fighting for this one thing and then they die and they never get to do it.
thing that I don't get is if you're like, shoot, if I go with them, they're going to kill me and feed me to somebody else. If I stay, there's no hope for humanity in the walls. Why would you just let yourself be taken and not fight tooth and nail to get away? She could have gotten away in the tree. She could have got Krista and been like, well, you're going to kill me and you're going to die. I'm going to go run. We're going to run away. We're going to hide. We're going to create a new place. I'm going to get Krista out of here. I'm going to find
her best chance her best chance was coordinating with the scouts and helping to get Eren back. There's no doubt about it that her best actual chance, she's like, oh, it's not going to, there's no hope, no future in the walls. If she's too self-centered, this is why I still say that she actually is really just in it for herself. She's too small-minded and self-centered to realize, like, no, Eren has done miraculous things in a really short amount of time, and you have been around some of the most ardent fighters for their cause, and not only are they ardent fighters, they are some of the most brilliant minds in Commander Erwin, in Armin, in Hanjay. Like, you have got some of the most incredible, and Eren's like passion and Mikasha's fighting skill and Levi, like you have the ingredients. Like, the hope of humanity has been born. The smart play is to bet on the optimist.
What if you
scenario.
joined us?
Exactly. Join up with them and say, hey, listen, now you've got more. Now you have 2 Titan powers fighting on your side.
I think that Ymir was fully on the side of the scouts. I think she was with Eren. I think she was planning on trying to figure out how to get away with him until they found her Achilles and they threatened
but they just said
Krista or Historia, and they promised that they're going to protect her. Yeah,
but the word of 2 liars and infiltrators?
Well, I think it kind of plays into that same thing I was saying about she knows how far advanced the other society probably is, and they played into her fears.
But still, these 2 liars are like,
because they say, do you really think these guys are going to be able to protect you from what's coming? Right. And she cracks.
But here's the thing.
Good point.
She knows that Marley, the mainland, is an ocean away from here. She knows that they have to go all the way back outside the walls, all the way to the ocean. That's going to take him weeks. I don't know how long it's going to take. At least days. Then they have to go across the ocean on hopefully a boat, but we don't even know how they get across. Maybe they just get on Colossal Titan and paddle. I don't know. Then they have to go all the way. Clear. Then they have to go all the way across the ocean.
And where's the Beast Titan in all this?
Well, isn't there in the trailer for season 4? Isn't there images of Titans like walking out of the ocean? Yeah.
Well, maybe. My point is, they have to get all the way back to Marley, and then they're going to go back to their hometown and say, "Hey, we brought, Eren or whatever it is, and and here we are, and." There's bad people back on Paradise. They have 2 of the Titan powers, and we need to go back. How long is it going to take them to plan an offensive, to get all of their troops or whatever ready, and then to come back? It's going to be months.
Like, I'm not saying it was a rational decision. She was in fear.
That's time to okay, let's work together. And here it is, spill the beans. I come from an advanced society. They're going to come to try to kill us. We need to prepare. Like, that's a great movie right there. Prepare for the bad guys coming. That's like every Western, right? Like the bad guys are going to come. We got to, get the town folk, and we got to huddle up, and we got to fight for our land. Like, that's a great movie. And she's like, no, I'll just take their word that they're going to, protect Krista somehow in months when they come back. Like, no, bro, no one's going to protect Krista. They're going to go do whatever their commander says, and they're going to have to do whatever he says, period. They're not going to listen to your words. I just feel like it's a really
I think this is another point where she's like, am I going to lie to myself again? Yes, you are. I think she did lie to herself again. I think she decided in that moment that going with them was her best option, and she just dug her heels in and kept going.
That's what
because her eyes went dead, and when Eren said, "Who's the enemy?" and she says, "Who knows?"
Yeah, I know.
That's
right?
That was when she
Ymir,
That's what I mean by I think season 4 is going to have to give us some scenes of like Ymir's demise, essentially, because they're going to have to kind of like.
She made her bed, and now she's going to lie.
Yeah, I think I think they're going to finalize. It's
going to probably make me cry. Dang it.
So, okay, the next one was, someone please find us. This is Bertholdt's line.
Yeah.
My guess is what he means is like, even if we go back to our hometown, like we're going to get back there, it's not actually going to be good. It's almost like a cry for like,
justice.
Can you please get outside these walls? I know what I'm doing is weird and wrong, and like I get it, but like
is he saying please find us, like find Marley and go kill everyone? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, come rescue us. Like, I'm a prisoner. Actually,
he's saying like, someone please find us. Are you sure he's not saying like someone from Marley, like find us? Look, we've got everything you've asked us. We've done everything you asked us to do. Like, let our families go or whatever. Please find us with like, look, we were doing the right thing, because it looks like they're not going to get out.
We didn't fail. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because if they fail, what's going to happen to their families?
Well, we as anime users or anime watchers, we haven't read the manga for season 4 yet.
Anime user. Inject this anime right in my veins.
Give it to me. We don't actually know what he means when he says, do you think we want to do this? We don't know their backgrounds. We assume, and we're kind of saying, oh, they probably have got their families or something, or they're putting them up to it like, some gulag or Gestapo type thing, but we don't actually know what their motivation is. So we'll have to see when that comes around. I'm sure some of you guys know, but we are excited to find out.
We're going to find out.
All right. Well, that leads us to the end of yet another epic episode. Do we want to...
I'm going to read...
Get some comments? Yeah.
I'm going to read a couple comments. So... we had a heated discussion about the motivation, about why they wanted Historia in the first place, why Bertholdt and Reiner did.
Oh, that's right. So Paris' email.
Yeah, in the anime, it doesn't actually show us that they heard about Historia as a royalty. They just know that she's someone important from in the church. So they're like, oh, we can use her as a bargaining chip.
Somehow she's going to make their search for the coordinate easier. Question mark.
And then they were like, well, we promise you, Ymir, she's just as important to this mission as you are. And we're like, some random hostage would be? But then Paris said in his email, which I really appreciate, he said that they actually knew about because of Annie's sleuthing in the interior, they knew about Historia's royalty, and that's why they wanted to capture her.
So maybe we'll get some more of that in the future as well, because I think we're going to see Annie again. It seems pretty obvious that we will. Yeah. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more of exactly how deep she had gone, because she seemed like if any of the 4 that were sent were like super spy status, I think she's kind of top notch, because she's the one that got sent to the interior and the you know what I mean, like I
she
feel
kept
like
it close to the chest. She's sleuthy. She's a good fighter.
Yeah.
She has what it takes to be a good spy. So the other thing I was going to say is we got an email from our boy Joden, girl, I don't know, Joden.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway,
this wonderful human.
He's from the UK. They're from the UK. And they said that they always thought that Zeke, being royalty, was able to transform Eldians into Titans like a beast Titan power. And that's how he changed the village, and he could somehow transform them without spinal fluid or somehow activate it in them.
Yeah, that to me makes sense, because
I did wonder that if that was part of his power. Maybe.
Yeah, but that would be a freaking nasty power. Because think about it,
to just awaken the Titan in the Eldian blood somehow. Maybe that's why they show him running with all the random animals in the beginning of the sequence, because he has DNA powers or something.
But why did he just? How come when all the scouts were coming at him, he didn't just go?
Why didn't he just turn them all into Titans?
Or turn Levi into a Titan?
I don't know.
I don't know if Levi could be. I still
maybe he
would
can't because he's an Ackerman.
Right.
Maybe the Ackermans can protect them all by being there. No,
that's a good point.
No, we're getting off in a crazy town now.
And it didn't get confirmed for us in the show. I don't think it showed us that. But that would make sense in terms of how he was able to do so many at one time.
Yeah. Each of the Titans seem to have like a couple of special powers. He's obviously has the long arms. The throwing ability is kind of like his one of his things that's somewhat apparent, but and his ability to speak. So he's got at least that much. He can speak
intelligently.
He can speak intelligently in his Titan form. So those are two kind of special things about him. But what if there's more to the story? And what if he can turn people into Titans, but there's some conditions on it, they kind of have to be asleep or subdued in a certain way. So he shows up to the town, gasses
at
everybody
night.
And does it while they, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a theory.
The other thing that actually leads us kind of what he was saying next is that it seems like, all the Titans have a specific Titan ability or some kind of power, right? Why, when we got into Rod Rice's underground, was there a specific vial of spinal fluid for Titan hardening, right?
Right.
And he said, can all of their abilities be ingested individually? Can they be distilled, and can you get them separately? And was that just one of the ones they had distilled from this specific Titan, and that's why when Eric took that, then he could harden?
Where did they get it from in the first place? Where did they get it?
And he says, where did they get spinal fluid on the inside of the wall?
Can I just say that the basement did not deliver all the secrets that I was hoping that it would?
Yeah, the Rod Rice thing, I'm actually really excited to get that, because
I was a little disappointed.
We're kind of on the precipice. We're getting close to that part of the show again.
Yeah.
the crystal thing, the hardening thing, especially because we see Annie do it, and we're like, oh, well, this must be one of Annie's like special things, and it's not wrong. It seems like there's something to that, but
obviously the founding Titan could do that
exactly. So what I'm saying is Rod Reiss has this like vial, the like Titan hardening thing, but
that whole weird crystal palace.
Were they going to give that? Like, were they going to give that to his daughter or whatever,
so she could do
so she could have it? And why give it to her? Why Why not just give that to whoever has the Titan power currently, and then they pass it on? Where do they get it in the first place?
Because if that was specifically from Annie, then at one point they got spinal fluid, and the founding Titan brought all that spinal fluid over from Marley and said, "Okay, we're gonna keep one of this and one of this and one of this." And Eren just happened to find it, like hallelujah. But like,
this is why.
And what was the owl even planning?
This is why I've been saying this the whole time, and I have no actual foundation for this. I think that the Titan powers and all this stuff like that ultimately it is science. It is for lack of terms, I understand science fiction, but I'm saying, I think ultimately the whole thing is actually a DNA like science thing and not a mysterious demon powers thing. I think the myth is mysterious demon powers stuff. I think the actuality is that it's a weapon of war. And it's been developed, and it's all human done.
And they can distill specific powers, and you can ingest certain things.
Yeah, and then it does have to do with bloodlines, and it does have to do with physiology, but it's not a spiritual thing per se, because they just keep planting that seed in the show. With Hanji, she's very scientific. Armin is very scientific. Erwin is very strategic. The fact that you become a Titan through literally a syringe. The fact that there's kind of there's this crystal palace underground, but it's like a laboratory of sorts. Like there seems to be a superstition surrounding science. To me, that's what I think's going on.
Yeah, it's interesting. What if Eren could ingest other spinal fluids from other Titans? What if they got Reiner and they got some of his spinal fluid? Could Eren then get some armor on his Titan?
That'd be so sick.
Could we like mod and upgrade Eren's Titan to and
equip a loadout?
Yeah. Would he be over encumbered if he had too many loadouts? We have to remap him a little bit. I don't know. But also I'm like, man, is he kind of like a mech? Can we add armor, and can we give him a certain hardening ability?
Attack on Titan is actually the prequel to what's the monster movie where they control
Pacific Rim?
He's actually the prequel to the Pacific Rim.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway,
we've come full circle. So guys, thank you for writing your emails. We appreciate it. You're shedding some light. You're asking some good questions. Adding to the discussion, even if you're across the pond, we're all in this together.
We're grateful for it. All right, guys, we love you. Leave us them reviews over on iTunes and so on. beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com, YouTube, Facebook, all the various places, and we, like you, are pumped for season 4. God bless these animators.
It's gonna be the best Christmas
gift
ever.
It seems risky to me, but
hey, 2020 just got a little better.
Yeah, you know what? Some good news in 2020.
Please, God, let us make it there.
I made the point the last time the Japanese surprised the Americans on December 7th, it wasn't as good as a surprise.
It wasn't a sweet anime show. It was a few thousand pounds.
It was definitely hot,
at
though.
Pearl Harbor.
But this is making it up.
This
is making it up.
You've done well. You've done well. Thank you, Japan. We love you guys.
Maybe, yeah.
Anyway, we love you all. We shall see you in the next episode.
Thanks for sticking around, guys.
Peace. Thanks again for watching and listening. If you're enjoying the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. If you're really loving it and you want some extra cool content, you can join our Patreon page over at patreon.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Check the show notes or our social media pages for links to some really rad Attack on Titan merch. All right, guys. See you next time.